Okay, so we are on step-by-step 8.1. If you would, please open up education document.xlsx, and we are looking at the median income by education level from a study in 2005. It's the U.S. Census Bureau, and it tells us that men with no high school diploma make on average $22,000 a year. Women with no high school diploma make $13,000 a year. And as each level of education increases, so do the salaries. Okay, we want to chart this information. We want to turn it into something where we can see visually this information and it is easy to assimilate in our brains. So what we want to do is highlight the information we want to chart, which would be A3 through C8. We want to include the education level, the men and the women titles in this charting, so it will actually assign value, or will assign tags to the values that it chooses. So we have this information highlighted. Let's go to Insert, and let's choose under our Charts section the column chart. And here we have an option for 2D, 3D, a cone, pyramid. Let's choose the very first one, 2D column. And we see a chart is now generated. Men being blue, women being red, and each one of the categories, no high school diploma, and the amount of salary that they generally will earn, or on average. And we can see that women earn on average less than men do with the same education levels. So now we don't want to debate why that is, but we want to actually move this chart and place it underneath our data. And it is an object, so we can resize it. We can move it, and then we can resize it by grabbing the bottom right hand corner and fitting it to the edge of column C so it lines up with our data. As we move this around, it stays proportionate based on the height and the width. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is let's look at it as one whole page. We have our data up here, and then we have a chart down here that visually represents the data. But let's say we want this to be on its very own page. So select the chart itself, or not the inside chart, but go ahead and select the outside chart. And we should see Chart Tools at the top. Let's click Design. And over here to the far right we have Move Chart. Move this chart to another sheet or tab in the workbook. So let's click on that and let's choose New Sheet, and let's call it Column. This is a column chart, so we're going to call it Column and say OK. So the chart itself is now in its very own sheet at the bottom called Column. Let's click on Sheet 1 and we will see our data is here. Let's move Column to be after sheet number 1, and let's rename sheet number 1 Data. Okay, so now we have our data in position number 1. We have a column chart in position number 2. Let's go ahead and hit save, and I believe we need to save it as Education Pays and your initials. Okay, now we're going to make a change to our data sheet. We're going to change high school graduate to high school diploma. But before we do that, I want you to look in the column sheet and notice that in the second position it says high school graduate. Now let's go back to our data sheet and let's change graduate to diploma. Hit enter. Now go back and look at your column, and you'll notice that it also reflects high school diploma. Okay, let's be in our column and our chart. And at the top, let's look at our chart tools and let's choose the design. And next, let's look over here in our chart layouts and let's choose more options. And these are just basically different ways that your chart can be titled with an x-axis and a y-axis. Let's choose layout number 9. It should be the second row, third layout to the right. And we'll notice when we choose that it inserts chart title. It also inserts an axis title on both the X and the Y axes. So we want to go ahead and insert a chart title. Let's click on it and let's type in education. We have to double click and highlight. Education pays. Okay. And next let's click on the vertical X axis or the vertical tile, and let's change axis title to median income. And then this title down here, we want it to say education level. And hit enter or click outside. Okay, now under chart tools in the design category, again, let's look at chart styles and let's choose more and let's pick style number 26. I believe that is the fourth row down, second column over. And it kind of looks the same, it just brightened it up a little bit. If we chose a different style altogether, we'd see a significant change. Okay, so next let's go to Layout under your chart tools, next to Design, and let's choose Legend. And then let's show the legend at the top. And you'll notice that the men and the women moved from the far right hand side to the top of your page. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a date, because anytime you represent data, it needs to be dated so that we can see the relevance to it at the moment that we're looking at it. So we're going to go ahead and insert a header and footer, and let's choose custom header, and on the far right hand side go ahead and insert the date and say OK, and we can do a print preview before we say OK again under page setup. So let's do a print preview and we will see that your date should say 12/4. I'm doing this on 12/3, but now we show this entire representation of the data with our education level shown, our median income shown, education pays is our title, our legend is represented at the top. It also gave us a little bit more room so that our chart could be filled up in the center. And we've got a date. Okay, so let's hit save.